Do you feel about home now the same way as you did when you were a kid? You see, when we were little, we were so busy with school during the day, then activities afterwards, whether it be just extracurriculars or it be sports. Home is a place where we would find comfort, where we could reset and recharge. It was the end to a bright, fulfilling, and productive day without us even knowing it. Then something weird in March of 2020 happened. At first glance, we were all so happy. We got a week off from school, maybe even a month. But this 1 week or this 1 month slowly turned into 1 year. And depending on where you lived, this even turned into 1.5 years. And during this time, many of us were studying or working from home. But after this 2020 incident, has life actually become normal again? Since 2020, we've found ourselves staying at home much more often than we would actually like to admit. You work from home, then go to the gym, then come right back home. Or you leave to go get groceries or run some errands, then you come right back home. Even if it's entertainment, we watch a movie on Netflix within our home. We scroll on our phone when we're bored within the home. Or we run downstairs to our man cave, play some video games downstairs in our home. If you're 18 to 24 in this era, you probably live a quiet life of desperation and isolation. Home isn't the same place as it was when we were kids. Home isn't a place to reset and recharge, but instead it's a place where we can't escape from. A place that is almost holding us back. A place that pushes comfort so much to the point that it's actually destroying you. Since 2020, we are the most isolated we have ever been, and we've forgotten how important socializing really is for our overall health. Even though things are open and businesses are begging you to enter their establishment, do you find yourself still always at home? I started to feel this more towards the end of high school when I stopped playing basketball as much, and I didn't realize how much basketball took up a part of my life, and just in terms of socializing, meeting other people, that when I stopped, I just found myself going to school and back, kind of just doing the mundane things every single day. It was when I got to college, especially my freshman and sophomore year, where it hit me the hardest. My freshman year, I was just so insecure with myself, so low confidence. I would just go to class, come right back. If I had to go get groceries, would go get groceries, come right back, always had AirPods in. And then I would wonder why I was so lonely and I couldn't really make friends. And then to make everything worse, in my freshman year, March of 2020, that's when the weird social isolation experiment happened. And this is where things got really, really ugly for me in this story. I found myself quickly, once I returned home, spending 16 hours a day plus within my house. 16 hours. And I was probably doing the worst things that anyone could be doing at this time. Eating out a lot because the restaurants were still kind of booming at this time. DoorDash and all of these apps started to really take off. On top of that, I was playing so much video games, watching videos I should not have been watching. And more importantly, and even worse probably, I was watching these how to make money online videos, specifically with drop shipping. My dopamine was just fried round and round the clock. My internet and phone usage during this time was through the roof. I gained so much weight. My anxiety was through the roof. I completely just lost my personality, and I found myself just going down a very dark hole. The smallest of things would just irritate me, and I would get so angry and just lash out. And this is something that people around me had even mentioned at this time. Little did I know, a huge part of it was that I was just spending so much time in the house and isolated from everything and everyone, just like everyone else was. And I thought because everyone else was, it wasn't that big of a deal and everything would be fine. But my mental health suffered so much because of it. And for many of you watching, even though COVID has ended, a lot of you are practically still living as if a pandemic is going on, spending so much more time in the house than you would like to. And since you're watching this video, you're at least smart enough to realize how bad this really is for you. I'm going to pull out some information from the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I'm going to put a picture of it right here. What I'm going to explain is one of the laws that Robert Greene mentions in his book. And the law that I'm going to talk about right now that he says if you want to have power is that you must avoid isolation at all costs. He says that the more time you spend in isolation, you forget about your own smallness. You are just one person in a statistic of 8 billion people. I hate to say this, but you really do not matter. You might think that's a bad thing, but in a way that actually gives you so much liberation to do whatever you want, and you should be free from whatever is holding you back. When you continuously spend time by yourself, you forget about your own smallness. And you've probably heard the quote that ego is the enemy, and the more that you spend time alone, you are feeding the ego. And from a competitive standpoint, if you actually have ambition and want to go somewhere in your life, you realize that there are other people working just as hard as you, if not more, and are actually better than you as well. You need to actually be around competition, and you need to see what's going on to see how much you actually really suck. That's the first way to grow, to improve, to see that there are other people who are doing exactly what you want to do and are better than you. By being exposed to this, it's almost like a kick in the ass to actually go harder, to improve yourself, to actually get the ball rolling, to actually start doing way more than you thought you should be doing. And the very last part of this law specifically, I won't harp on it too much. The more you isolate yourself, the more the mind tends to have perverted and unwanted thoughts. If you're a person right now that has an issue with constantly touching themselves all the time, watching videos you don't want to watch, you know exactly what I'm talking about. How often are you alone? When you're alone, for the most part, especially if you lack purpose, you're a person when you're alone that you're either bored or lonely. If you're bored or lonely, where in the hell do you think your mind is going to go? Especially if you're a young male with hormones. There's several websites that I can name of, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. And you just put yourself in social settings all the time. You're not going to do that stuff. You're not going to touch yourself. One, that's just weird. You're not going to do that in public. But two, your mind's not just on yourself having weird and unwanted thoughts. You're going to have thoughts about the other people around you. You're going to want to talk to them. You're going to want to learn about them. They're going to ask about you. Your mind is on the conversation. So if you have a problem with this, spend your time studying or working in social settings. I promise you, you're not going to touch yourself as much. This is something I've never heard anyone say before, but the solution is so easy. When you don't socialize and you forget how to do it, it's something that it very much just goes away. And then when you actually get back into that environment, you find it so difficult. It's just so much resistance. You just feel so much social anxiety. I want to give you some practical tips, and one of that is from Isaac Newton, which is basically for every action there is an opposite and equal reaction. So if you find yourself so socially anxious, so nervous, so low confidence, and you're all the way this way, you have the ability to be the complete opposite and in the equal magnitude on the opposite side of the spectrum. So don't think that it is not possible. And plus, when you were a kid, you were probably a lot less socially anxious than you are now. So your body and mind knows what this feels like. But just some practical tips that I can give you is that rather than just doing work and studying in your house all the time, do that in a social setting, a library, a cafe, like a lobby of somewhere. Just do your work elsewhere. Don't be this social, like this Jeffrey, where you're just in your room pretending to be doing work, but you're like watching videos on the side. When your friends or anyone around you invites you to something, start saying yes more often. This isn't about having more fun right now. It's more about actually getting yourself to start being a human once again and starting to actually interact with people once again. One, you can actually still talk to your friends right there, but if you go to a social setting, you can actually meet more people along the way. So just start saying yes to more people. I know I'm saying all of these things and it's a lot easier said than done. Another tip I just want to give you is that if you feel nervous or you feel apprehensive before doing any of these things and your heart starts kind of racing, your mind starts wandering, that's an exact sign that you're doing the right thing. If you feel like it's kind of negative and you feel a lot of friction and resistance, remind yourself that this is completely normal, and if anything, this is a good sign. This is a sign that you are alive, that you are a real person, and that you're really in this. I'm going to make a video about this in the future, but the very last thing that I want to say is that this stranger danger propaganda, that strangers are bad, that they could hurt you, kidnap you, do bad things to you or whatever. I'm gonna make a video of this in the future, but this is all propaganda. Strangers are the people that will add the most meaning to your life. Yes, the friends and family that you have right now are everything and you should prioritize them. but your future wife, your future husband is a stranger to you at one point. You didn't know them, but now you do know them, or you will get to know them. Your best friend, even if you met them at 4 years old, before you met them, you guys were strangers, had no idea, but they've added so much more meaning to your life. Customers for your business are all strangers, but look at how much they add to your life. If you have an audience, fans, these strangers are the reason that I actually feel a will, because I get comments and I see subscribers and I see that I'm having a positive impact on people. It's strangers that give me a reason to do this. Strangers are the single group of people that actually make life worth it. Yes, your family and your friends, again, are important and you should prioritize them. But again, it is strangers. This whole stranger danger has been pushed by the media to keep you sad, lonely, and depressed so that you can, I don't know if I should say this, but so that you can honestly become addicted to antidepressants so that the pharmaceutical industry can go up. If you look at the single most profitable business or industry since basically COVID, it's been the pharmaceutical industry. I don't know if I should be saying this or could get into trouble for it, but I just want to be as transparent as possible. But without further ado, I hope you got a ton of value from this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, I wish you all the most success because there's plenty enough for all of us. Mwah.